Hey you guys, it's Hannah and welcome back to another video. You guys, today I have to be honest with you, I have done an absolute terrible job with my TBRs lately. I did not make a TBR for May, June, or July. I've basically been in a really big mood read. Lately, it just seems like even if I do make a TBR, I don't really stick to it super well. So that's my intent with today's video. We are going to be doing a lot of mood reading. It is going to be a mood reading vlog, and I'm really excited to kind of share with you guys the first book that is currently going to be a part of today's video, and that is A Funny Story by Emily Henry. Character development's fantastic. Usually a lot of her characters have underlying issues that they are trying to get through. It can be a little bit heavy at times and lean a little bit more towards the literary fiction side of writing, which I think pairs really well within a romance, especially just overall growth within the characters as they are also finding love. Like, it's very beautiful. I read Happy Place by Emily Henry and I gave that 3 stars. It was not my favorite of hers, particularly around kind of the overall plot. It felt very angsty. There was some miscommunications. It's just not my favorite kind of trope, to be honest with you. I didn't connect very well with the characters, actually. For that reason, I gave it a 3. And then on the flip side of that, I read Beach Read by Emily Henry and I gave it 5 stars. So I'm kind of like waffling around with this author. I need to really read a couple other of her books just to see what I feel about her writing in general and kind of, cater my tastes to the overall storyline, I think, is kind of what's pulling me in. The storyline is what hooks me with her writing. So, with Funny Story, this is a very appropriate title because there's so much irony and awkward moments of humor woven throughout this book. And we are basically following our main character, Daphne. So, Daphne has recently been dumped by her fiance, and her fiance is leaving her for his childhood best friend. And of course, his childhood best friend happens to be Miles's girlfriend. So they both get dumped, which is extremely awkward because now Daphne has to move out of the house that she was in and kind of reassess her life. She ends up becoming roommates with Miles just because, she's doesn't know anyone else in this town. She doesn't know anyone, and he's got a room available. He has no girlfriend and no roommate anymore. So they move in together. There's a little bit of forced proximity relationship. And then, of course, we have this fake dating trope that gets introduced into the story. So Miles and Daphne agree one evening to fake date each other to get back at their exes. And of course, what could go wrong? They're not gonna fall in love with each other. Like, that would never happen. It's happening. And I absolutely love it. So yeah, we're basically at this point now, I'm like 75% of the way through the story. And there's been some really great moments between the two of them as they're kind of trying to figure out, oh, do we really have feelings for each other now that we've kind of spent all this time together in this very close proximity type of relationship. And there's also, just these awkward run-in situations with their exes because they all kind of live in the same small town. So I'm really curious to see what ends up happening in the last like 25, 30-ish% of the book. So that is going to be our first book for the vlog. And then after I finish this, yeah, we're just gonna see how I'm feeling, guys. And I'll pick up something else wherever the wind takes me, my friends. So I'm gonna stop talking and get back to reading this wonderful book. Oh my god, you guys, the awkward moments that are in this book. Just like so, I don't know. It's just absolutely hysterical. So it's actually been a couple of days and I have officially finished Funny Story by Emily Henry, and I have so many great thoughts to share with you guys. This book was absolutely hysterical. It was very fitting. I freaking love the title. The title is very much appropriate for this type of story. So many of the rom-com like typical tropes of like awkward run-ins, just funny moments that will just make you sit there and laugh out loud. I laughed my way through this entire book. I'm not going to share my final ratings until the very end, but I did want to say that I finished this book, absolutely loved it. I binged the whole thing in like maybe 2 days, if that. The pacing's very quick. It's easy to get through. You can sit down and read through a good chunk of this book at a time if you got like an hour or two to kill. So I would definitely recommend this if you love a good rom-com. If you enjoy literary fiction with a side of romance, then Emily Henry is definitely the author for you. If you're not into this type of story or this type of trope, definitely check out some of the other books that she has. She's absolutely phenomenal. So with that, I have decided to kind of move on to my next mood read, and that is going to be An Echo of What Was Lost by James Islington, or Islington, I guess is how you say his name. So I actually have this one on my Kindle. This is an epic fantasy story. It is book 2 in the Licanius trilogy, so there are 3 books in the series in total. I read the first book I want to say about a month ago, and I absolutely loved it. I have not really like tested out epic fantasies for the most part, and I really wanted to kind of like expand my genre, expand my tastes. This year is like kind of one of the things I wanted to stretch myself as a reader, and I absolutely fell in love with his writing. I read The Will of the Many last year, which is another one of his newest releases, I would say. So, in An Echo of What Is Lost, we're picking up after book 1. This is epic fantasy. We are following multiple different perspectives, multiple different people set in different kind of areas of this fantasy world. There is a lot of political tension. There is an impending war that's about to happen. There are threats of these ancient gods like rising up to kind of take over this world. We have this very present evil that could potentially destroy the entire land. So with that, I think this book is, I'm just going to make the prediction here, is going to be a little bit more of a setup. I think that this book is going to have continuous, more world building involved with it. We are going to follow some of the main characters like Davian. Davian is kind of a gifted individual in a way. He has this magical power that enables him to kind of read people's minds and tell if they are lying or not. He's really capable of kind of like prophesying as well as kind of like another skill that Davian has. And this type of individual is called an augur. The augurs in this world are a little bit more oppressed than some of the other magical or gifted individuals in this world. But recently, after book 1, they have been given kind of new laws around what they can and cannot do. So I think that's going to play into effect in book 2. It kind of seems like there will be somewhat of an underlying romance plot that works its way and weaves its way through the story. So I'm kind of curious to see if 2 of the characters end up kind of forming some type of romantic relationship together. And of course, we have Wur, who is Davian's best friend. Wur is actually the prince of this world. He has taken the throne after his father has passed away. So I think we're going to see some moments where he's going to have to grow as like a political leader over this country. So yeah, I'm really interested to kind of see where this goes. I'm maybe 75, 80 pages into the book. It's a very big book. I'll put a picture up, maybe here, maybe here. I want to say it's like close to 800 pages. So maybe that's not the best book to pick for a mood read, but definitely wanted to lean more towards like a fantasy book after the romance, just trying to kind of mix things up and kind of play into what I'm feeling. I do love the whole quest story of these ragtag individuals working together to kind of come to a common goal or solve a complex problem, work together for the greater good. that's something that I am absolutely obsessed with now that I've kind of gone through a couple iterations of books like this before. For this year. So yeah, I'm gonna get into reading this. Like I said, I'm gonna be reading it on my Kindle, and I'll be giving you guys some updates kind of along the way. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and get back to reading. So it's actually been a couple of days since I have read The Echo of Things to Come. Now I finally got the title right of this book. So yeah, it's been a couple days and I've been kind of blazing my way through this story. It is very gripping. There is a lot of, how do I want to say? So James Islington, the way that he writes his epic fantasies, you get very attached to some of these characters. It feels like you are getting the inner thoughts, the inner dialogues of like friends or people that you think that you could hang out with. Like they just feel very personable and kind of like relatable because you're getting their inner thoughts. And I absolutely love that in his writing. The thing that he does though that like throws me off sometimes is like you get comfortable with a character, you kind of build a little bit of like a connection with them, and then Mr. James ends up either injuring them super badly or just killing them all together. And so there's a couple characters in here where I was like, oh my gosh, no, I actually really liked this one. Like we were moving along the story, they were adding good flavor, good color to the overall narrative, to the overall plot, and then they just, something tragic happens to them and they either go away completely or they're just, you know, not doing super well for a couple chapters, and then they come back and you're like, oh, I thought he died. Anyway, so with this book though, it is super long. It's like very close to 800 pages. I think on my Kindle it said it's like 870 pages, which is really, really long, you guys. And I'm only 400-ish pages in, so I'm like almost halfway at this point. At the same time, like I am enjoying this book, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love the writing. I really like the plot. Book 2 is a great addition to the series. It picks right up where book 1 left off. However, I'm really missing that feeling of finishing a book like in a weekend or in a couple days and just having something that moves a little bit quicker. So that being said, I ended up picking a different book to kind of pivot to. I ended up grabbing a novel by Ruth Ware, and that is The Lying Game. So I grabbed this from the local library. This is a mystery thriller. It might be more of a mystery actually. I want to say I'm not super familiar with the overall plot, but it does feel like a whodunit unsolved crime kind of story. We have a body that has washed up on the beach, and we have these two women that are friends from that same hometown, and I guess there's like a connection to the individual that passed away and these two women. So I'm really curious to see how I'm going to end up liking this story. I'm really excited to be reading this book and kind of sharing my thoughts with you guys along the way. I'm going to dive into this weekend. Hopefully it'll take me not too long to kind of get through it. It's a little over 350 pages, and her writing is very fast paced. It's a mystery thriller, so of course it's going to move along pretty quickly. And yeah, I'm excited for this next mood read, so we're going to jump into this. I'm going to stop talking. So it's actually been a couple of days since I've last updated you all. I have finished The Lion Game by Ruth Ware, and I also finished The Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. And I have a couple thoughts for you guys. First of all, The Lion Game by Ruth Ware. This is more of a pure mystery story and not so much of a mystery thriller as I previously had thought. Going into this, I had no expectations. I didn't really read too much of the overall description. I have read one other book by Ruth Ware, which is One by One, and it was okay. I think I ended up giving it like 3.5 stars for a mystery. This is very interesting. We're kind of following a couple different characters. We're only getting one perspective, and we're getting it from the main character. I believe her name is Issa. Issa's our main character. We're following her perspective, and there's 3 other girls that are kind of part of this friend group, if you will. They all went to the same boarding school, and they all mysteriously get a text from this one girl in the group, Kate. Kate says, "Hey, I need you. Please come immediately." All of the other girls drop what they're doing and kind of go back to Kate's. Kate lives next to the boarding school that they all went to, and there has been, talk of a body being found close to her estate. There's definitely a mystery kind of around how did it get there. A lot of the townspeople are very suspicious, and these girls all have a secret that they've kind of buried in the past that kind of goes along with the potential murder and death of this individual. The storyline in this, I didn't really jive with too much. It was not my favorite in terms of the plot. I was not very much of a fan of the main character, Issa. Issa's inner dialogue and her thoughts were starting to get a little bit annoying to me towards the end. She is a new mom, so she brings her baby with her to this emergency situation with her friends where a dead body is found, and to me that just didn't seem or feel very realistic to me. So there was a lot of inner dialogue about her concerns as a new mom, bringing her baby along. I just didn't really get it. So for that reason, I believe I ended up giving it like 2 stars, maybe 2.25 if I remember correctly. It was okay. I believe in Ruth Ware as an author. I know that she has a lot of other mysteries out there. It's not to say I'm going to discount her as an author. I just didn't particularly enjoy this work that she put together. So for that reason, I ended up giving it a lower rating. With that being said, I have also finished The Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. This was a chunky book, and I ended up reading it on my Kindle, and I'm very glad because it's over 800 pages. There's no way I would be able to even hold that book, really. It is more of a Roman-inspired type of fantasy. We are getting multiple different perspectives of these band of characters, these band of friends that have to go off on their own individual quests to somehow save this world, save each other, figure out how they fit into the overall growing, the overall growing fear or impending doom of this north border kind of collapsing and these monsters kind of escaping and coming out. So there's a lot of setup in this book. It does pick up right after book 1, which I really appreciate. So the story is moving along. However, some of the reasons why I ended up giving it 3 stars instead of a higher rating was just due to the fact that it was so long. Also, there were a few plot holes to me where some of the characters, their motives just didn't line up, or there was just some connections between the characters. I was anticipating that there would be more plot narrative around those connections, and there was not. So it just felt a little bit lacking to me. It just kind of felt like we were kind of going through more of the quest and not really developing those key relationships with the characters, and I was really hoping for that. I loved the first book. I felt like the first book, you really get the glimpse into the characters' minds. You can really form an attachment and a likability to some of the characters. I had a harder time with that in this go around. But that's not to say that I'm not going to read the 3rd book in the Lycanius trilogy. This just wasn't as good as the first one, in my opinion. Overall, that concludes the mood reading video. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, all of the YouTube things that you know how to do. Also, please feel free to connect with me on Goodreads. I will include that in the description down below. And I'll see you guys in the next one soon. Bye!